How we doing, guys? It's just a two-man show today. Gov had some personal business to get to. I think it was mainly work, but so it's just me and Donnie today. But I wanted to start by saying that this week I literally lost in DFS. Like I lost right away. It felt like I lost at 105, Donnie. It really did. I mean, it was just like, oh, today's not your day. And we haven't really had one of those days. We've had days where we didn't profit. We've had days where like maybe things didn't work out the way we wanted, but like the theory or the structure was good. Sunday, I'm like, oh, I might win some bets. I might be able to make back some money on some afternoon slate predictions, some speculations. But I was too heavy on Robinson, for example, which we can get into more with the lineup builder show after we cover some of these spreads. But I just want to mention off the top, like this was not a good week, but we always preach bankroll management. We preach being smart and having fun at whatever level you want to participate with DFS. Like, don't bet more than you can afford to lose, stuff like that. And I think we say it, but sometimes it's not in practicality. Well, this week, I'll tell you, I lost my ass. Like everything I had, I basically lost. Personal, our show pick lost, but I didn't lose more than I could afford. So like, I'm still in play this week. This season I'm up $30. So you can have bad weeks, and Donnie will tell you because he's more of a new DFS player than me. That's what we are doing. It's almost like seasonal warfare. I like at DFS. Like you have to prepare. You have to hibernate almost for the cold months. And I'm just going through a cold streak. Not that I'm like proud to come on here and talk about it, but I am proud that I'm able to sustain a bankroll and be able to tell you, hey, this week didn't work out. Donnie's got the spread picks pulled up. We'll get to that, and you'll see like where we had some green, where we had some red. Donnie, do you want to mention anything off the top? I just thought it was very valuable because I don't want to come off like a bumper sticker and say like bankroll management, guys, and then the week it really affects me. I'm not transparent.
Yeah, I mean, my highest scoring lineup this week was 117. So bad.
Right as you said that, Donnie, you cut out. So I'm going to wait for you to come back here. Yeah. You should come back. All right.
My highest scoring is 117. So it was a bad week.
Yeah.
But cash line was 135. We haven't seen that in forever, it feels like.
That was high.
Well, 135 is pretty low for the min cash.
It's true. I guess it is 150, isn't it?
That's it's about 15 points lower. So I'm a little low as well this week, but you can play Kirk Cousins and regret it, I guess.
Well, another thing you actually kind of sparked me to remember is like we always talk about diversifying our bankroll. Believe it or not, our best ball, maybe this is a good week to talk about it because Gov's not here. If we talk about it too early, he goes crazy. Our best ball exploded this week. So that is just another example of, do prop bets, do the pick sixes, do different websites. Different websites offer different prices for players. So like, just diversify how you play. Our best ball smashed, but I couldn't even enjoy that, Donnie, because my DFS lineups were like, I was disappointed in my process. It wasn't even that I lost. I was just truly disappointed because I was overexposed on Robinson. So like one takeaway for me is like diversifying my portfolio.
Before we get more into that conversation, though, let's just run over these spread picks and then pull up the lineup. Our show pick, of course, again lost. 3-5 on the year, not looking good. We always finish 500. We always struggle at first and finish 500. We're like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, I guess they're inverse of that, but Gov, another abnormally bad week for him. 2 losses. He's at 5-11. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say we're safe yet because I've seen this before with Gov. I won't clear us yet, but I'm feeling really good that we're both sitting at 10-6 after my 2 wins this week. It was the week of the favorites. It really was. Just bet on the high point favorite.
I really love the three of us because we all respect each other. And like, I hope even if this show is casual for you guys, you come in and you see us, hopefully like our friendship really comes through because we do love each other, but we are very different thinkers, Donnie. So it would make sense on a season where I actually win this contest for the first time because like I either really suck or I'm actually like surprisingly good. It would marry together if I'm going to win on a season like this, Gov just abnormally has his worst performance of all time. Like
it's weird.
That's what I'm saying.
I know Gov does his research. Listen, there's no money involved. It's just bragging rights and then showdown captain in the Super Bowl. I am rooting against Gov. It's not like it's a personal lineup. I would never root against a personal lineup. This, screw Gov, I want him to lose.
Yeah, and he would laugh. He would laugh like a big happy panda that you want him to lose. And he would try to win because of it. And that's the competitive fun spirit we try to bring. And that's also what I love about what we do, because sometimes when we do our show pick, Donnie, we're like, I want to give this show pick. I want to be collaborative. I want to give people like what we actually think. But it's like, if I tell them about this pick, that takes the pick away from me. So that's why this contest is, and this show is so interesting, because we're trying to collaborate, but we're also trying to win independently as well. So it's just a fun balance for me.
All right. Do you got a lineup in specific that you want to pull up this week? Because I think it's better if we just pull up DK Live and just look at some of the failures, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll pull up our show lineup just for, because I think I always show that one.
Yes.
Like I said, I lost so much this week, Donnie. I'm not even sure which one is the bad one, so I might pull up one of my personal bad lineups as well. Let me get your spreads off the screen and just show you. I think it was a single entry here. Maybe I should start putting it in the 3-max, so that way we have. It was this lineup, which, by the way, was one of my best lineups. This lineup. So that should tell you how bad I did this week, Donnie. But this one was one of the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in that spot too, though. I mean, 109 would have been my second best lineup.
And I know what Gov would tell me, because he's not here, so I do know him enough to know. He'd say, well, a loss is a loss, Logan. He'd say obviously different, but his point would be that any loss is still a loss. Like, you either make money or you don't. And this week we didn't make money, so forget what the score is. It doesn't, the fact that we lost or lost by this much, but it does bother me, Donnie. I'll be honest, it does. Like, if I would have lost and scored 130 points, I would feel better than losing by 109. Maybe that just makes me different, but it does matter to me. Was there anything about this lineup that you just felt like we got unlucky about, or like, because we talked about it, but this week was just hard for me to even find silver linings?
I mean, Denver scores 44 and Sutton's not involved in that. Weird.
Well, he did. I watched a lot of that game too, because it was like in the late window. It was the latest game I think on, so a lot of games were in halftime, and that game was still going on into the second quarter. And they tried to hit Sutton twice in the end zone. He dropped both of them, or he couldn't get his feet into the first one, and then they went right back to him, and he dropped the second one. And the second drop was egregious, and that's something we haven't seen from Sutton this year. If anything, maybe he's slowed down, maybe his speed's not there, but he's got sure hands. In this game, he just seemed to drop passes. So yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Like Rome, that's a good play. Kittle was a good play. I never liked the Kamara play, but I get it. So I don't consider that unlucky. You might. I didn't see it. It wasn't.
Now, some people might push back and say, like, that team was bad. That team was using Rattler. Like, the Rattler experience was just propped up by his fantasy points, but he was never a good quarterback. But I would tell you, you could believe all that stuff, Donnie, but still getting benched in a game and going to another quarterback in game, whether that's what Kellen Moore had to do because he wants to build confidence for this week, which I think was the right move. Shuck needed to come in. You need to see what you got. But anytime you switch quarterbacks mid-game, it just messes with the chemistry of the whole team.
Yeah, I can guarantee you I will not play Tyler Shaw this week. I mean, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Bijan's unlucky. Bijan scoring under 15 any week is unlucky. 55% owned and a 6.8 score. That's
unlucky. But I played him in every single. Well, I took him out of one lineup. I thought I was getting cute on him. Like, you know what? I don't want to be overexposed to him. I'm going to take him out of one lineup. And I think I got to look at it and be like, the fact I was questioning myself whether I wanted to be all in or all out just isn't normal in my mindset. Usually I build stars and scrubs and I'm all in for the result. I'm like, it's either going to smash and I got these stars with these scrubs and it makes sense, or it's going to lose. This week it felt like I was teetering on, do I want to fully commit? And I think that was my mistake. I didn't commit.
Tez Johnson's a fine play. Henry, we're lucky on that one. Henry gets 2 touch. I know. Like they won, and Henry had a good fantasy day or an okay fantasy day. But still, 2 touchdowns. You can never count on that. If you take one of those away, he's a snowflake.
Yeah.
And
I think he was at a price where, not that you were mistaken not to play him, but I think it was I think if you're not going to play him, you have to play a Raven, or you have to tell yourself a story where that game just fails. Like at his price, I felt like he was a smash play. And yeah, the last touchdown might have been lucky, but like that's kind of why you play Henry, and like you're playing him for exactly that style of game. Now we got the best version of that game because Huntley actually looked good, which made Henry look even better. But I would stand by making that call. In fact, I feel like Henry could have had more points, or maybe I'll even say should have had more points.
Yeah, well, I mean, Caleb Williams 12 points. There's a severe problem with Caleb. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but in the first quarter and the third, like the scripted drives, Caleb's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And if anything time they get to the second and fourth quarter where things are off script, he's not good. He's just bad. He needs Ben Johnson's script completely. And without it, he's not a good quarterback, it seems. And maybe he'll turn it around, but it doesn't look good for Caleb.
And he's got more time than Trevor Lawrence, but it does remind me of the Trevor Lawrence experience and why everyone, right or wrong, because there are arguments on both of the Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams argument to say that the potential's there or the talent's there, or I've seen flashes. The problem is both of those quarterbacks have flashed such good upside that we want to believe in this kind of stuff, but then they have flashed this disastrous, like almost.
Caleb's been more disaster than anything. You can see some plays where he's just like, oh my God, that's why he was number 1 overall pick. But
yeah,
then you have Drake May playing well and Daniels playing, Nick's playing well, and it puts more pressure on the organization. I mean,
yeah.
There, Caleb's in a bad spot, just in general. You got the coach right. That's all the Bears can say. The coach is right.
I will say that fans do this to themselves though a bit, where I mean, not me and you. I think me and you are kind of the renaissance of the sports fan that push against this. But a lot of people like rankings. A lot of people like tier list of like, is this quarterback better than this quarterback? And like, I do think that creates an unfair imbalance when it comes to talent evaluation. Just as like a DFS player, even because you're like, well, I'll excuse it for Justin Herbert because I see more potential in him, or I'll excuse it in Trevor Lawrence because I'm a Clemson fan, or like there's all these outside noises that get distorted sometimes. But also, we got to admit we're humans, Donnie, and biases are going to happen. So I lean into them sometimes. Like,
well, my script or my tier list, Caleb has fallen off the franchise QB tier list after this week.
Yeah,
I don't think you can build your franchise around him. It's been too much data showing me that he's just not who I thought he was.
Yeah, and I'm glad you got me back on track because my point was, but if information changes, you can change with that, Donnie. Like if his price drops to 4,800 and he starts playing better, then you can put him in that other tier. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They're like, oh, I said he was going to suck, so I got to stand by it. It's like, no, when new information becomes available, when DraftKings drops a price decrease, you should play it, And that's like, to get back to the lineup, that's like Elvin Kamara. You're not a Kamara guy. I am. But when the price drops to a point, you're like, well, I can see
Kamara's very valuable in a lot of teams. He's just not valuable in the Saints. He needs if he was on the Chiefs, if you took Kamara on the Chiefs today at 5,700, I'm playing him almost every week.
Right. But there's still a point where if he's on the Chiefs and he's 6,800, you might have more of a bias to be like, he's not that good of a player, where I would still be like, oh, I believe in the talent. So that's the beautiful thing about what we do, because we're not building a personal lineup and showing you. We're taking the three guys player pools and putting them together, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I actually think this exercise, just as a week long experience, really helps me because I'm like a couple weeks ago, Gov got me on Tetnick. I'm like, wait a minute, he's right. Like Tet is playing good, and I actually played Tet this week, and he played pretty well. Now Andy did not play well at all and turned over the ball, and they had a lot of weird fumbles, and that just like Tet hasn't had the touchdowns, but the workload is there. So even in bad weeks where we don't win, I feel like you have to look at some of the stats. Like for example, I know you were high in the Browns, and you're a Patriots guy, so you wanted the Patriots obviously to win. They did, but you were like, hey, that Browns defense, they look good.
And they did look good, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
eventually the defense just got worn out and the Patriots started to lay it on them. That's all that was. It wasn't
Mhm.
the Patriots' offense was significantly better than the Browns' defense. They just retired. And Myles Garrett had 5 sacks. Like, I mean, 2 against Will Campbell, 3 against Morgan.
Yeah. No. And then, like, like I was saying with Robinson, though, I'll go back to my Robinson point because it just carries over with so much of my personal in this lineup. I I thought it was likely, and I still think it's likely, if the Falcons play that game with the Dolphins, I think more often than not, Bijan is a flame. Like he's not a snowflake. I don't know what that number is. We could debate the semantics of what that is, whether he completely smashes like Jonathan Taylor and gets you 30, but I think more often than not, he exceeds value. My problem with that play is like I liked it enough. Everyone else liked it. I'm like, it's chalky. It's a running back. It's been working. So I'm just going to plug it in. And then I got scared of it because my game theory took over. I was like, well, why do you like this play? And I didn't do enough research to find out why I like it. And that's what irritates me, Donnie.
Yeah.
Because I just liked it because it should have worked. And that's a stupid reason to like something. And that's why I'm mad at myself. Because like I could have found reasons to like it. It was a good play. He was going against one of the worst run defenses, and but I should have been more committed to it. If I'm even mad I swapped off it in one lineup because that one lineup I swapped off, Donnie, guess what? It still lost. Like there was just a lot of bad performances.
The Falcons in general just scare me at this point. Like they can play with anybody and beat anybody, and they can lose to absolutely anybody. And it shows their win-loss record. If you go look at the teams they beat versus teams they've lost to, it's actually very sad. If you inverse that, I'd be much better with this team, much happier with this team. The inconsistent teams scare me. I don't want to be a part of a team that can beat the Bills and then lose to the Dolphins.
But also, we have a lot of Bryce Young and we have a lot of Panthers in our best ball, for example. And I think we did that because they were cheaper than what we thought their upside was. Their expectation was a lot lower than what we were hoping it could be. And so we were willing to take that variance. And we saw that the Panthers have lost games that I didn't think they were going to lose. They also blanked the Falcons. Like they looked. So I knew the ranges were there. And like obviously we got the worst range with Robinson here. I'm not so mad about that. I'm mad that I wasn't actually committed to my convictions with that game.
Can we see the lineup that just full cashed the best lineup?
That's probably a good idea.
I just want to see what it looked like. I didn't see any of that this week.
And just so people know, we usually have a single entry mindset because
239.
That's mainly what we play. The three of us, I'd say collectively, we play the single entries the most. Gov plays more at 20 maxes sometimes. And he used to play more head-to-heads. I haven't asked him recently if he still plays a lot of cash. Donnie, you play a lot of lottery ticket kind of contests, but so this I feel like kind of marries it together. 239 is impressive. But he was so much farther ahead than second place. That's what I was about to say. And I guess on a week where you had to have there was just so many misses, I feel like this makes sense, Donnie, that not only did he not have any snowflakes, like he avoided all the misses. Like this just seems like one of those high variance weeks where either you get everything wrong like I did, or you get everything right.
No, this is one of the most impressive lineups I've ever, because I could get to every one of these. I understand Hurts. Hurts made 100% sense.
Mm-hmm.
That passing defense is not good, and they needed to pass against them.
Mm-hmm.
I love James Cook. I played so much James Cook this year, not this week. I invested a lot in best ball. I think every one of my best ball teams have them.
People can see that we filmed all our best ball. By the way, I know some people like to go back and actually watch them for some kind of weird study. You can watch all our best. So that's why I was happy about Cook, but I didn't have any of them this week, so I was also frustrated. You had a lot more of them in best ball, I think, than I did.
Yeah, I have them on every team. Brees Hall. I mean, that's a little lucky, the pass touchdown. Blah, blah, blah. It finally hit.
Maybe it's lucky that they actually won a game. Like,
right. They scored 30. To Troy Franklin. Like, why? I guess it's just because it's against Dallas, and that makes sense, and you just didn't want to play Sutton at the price. So you go to the next best. DK, we almost played. And then we got off him for Tez. Devonta Smith, you're bringing him with the quarterback, makes sense. Dallas Goedert, National Tight End Week, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a little lucky to get 17 out of him. 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. Jonathan Taylor, I can't play him at that price, but I get it.
You would have played Robinson over Taylor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have too. Like,
I think everyone would have, basically, because it was 55% Robinson to 32% Taylor.
Yeah.
And then obviously Bucs defense. Yeah, you score 26 on defense, you win usually, at least something. But I mean, this is just the most beautifully built lineup. No Dallas bring back, which is interesting, which you avoid the CD fail. Mm-hmm. I think Pickens failed as well. I know Dak didn't do great.
Yeah, Dak really did bad. So that there is some theory to playing only one side of a popular, like especially a popular PMR game.
Well, basically what he said is, I trust Denver defense, but I hate this Dallas Dallas side of it, because I mean, that defense is so good. And Pat Surtain got hurt, and they still were fine defensively.
Which makes sense as a one-off to go, I'm not going to go Sutton, because Sutton is going to be involved in so much of the bringbacks. He'll be involved with a lot of Cowboys. So I don't gain that much if he does well, right? Because if he does well, then the Cowboys are probably doing well as well, right? But he's like, I'll go with a cheap guy that might do well on Denver. I won't have to bring any Cowboys back with it because he's so cheap that, like, if he gets, if he would have got like 14 points, this guy would have, still won the contest.
No bring back from New York, which if you did have a bring back, probably ends up being Scatabo instead of James Cook, which obviously we know what happens with that.
But you're a big fan of Cook. I don't like that he's not, like, people would rather play Allen than Cook. And it becomes like, is it a running script, is it a passing script? So that kind of variance really gets me off of Cook a lot of times. Would you have played Cook over Robinson? Because still for me, it would have been Robinson.
I late switched Cook for – I would have played Cook over Robinson. But I late switched Cook for – who was 6,800 this week? There was a 6,800 running back that I switched up to. It was Javonte Williams, the Cowboys back.
That's what I did too. I did the same thing.
My God, I can't believe I did that. Because I love James Cook. I always play him at 6,700 almost. But I still benefited in best ball with it, but so whatever.
And people might think
that's the one thing that I shoot myself in the foot. I was too into my bias, and I was like, I got to get away from my bias and just go to what matches my lineup.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes we can outthink ourselves. And so this week, I promised myself, whatever I decide to do, I'm going to be proud of it. And I think that's what makes me most mad about the Robinson stuff. Is like, I wasn't even proud of playing as much of them as I did. Because I'm just like, well, everyone knows that. Like, it's almost like I expected so much ownership that I'm like, everyone knows the Dolphins are bad on defense, so I have to play Robinson. Instead of just being honest, I like Robinson. I think the Falcons misuse him. I think that he has like Gibbs level upside with the ball in his hands. Like he could take a pass 80 yards receiving or 80 yards rushing. I just like that kind of back. But instead of buying into him, the talent, I'm like, well, I'm just going to do what everyone else does. And that's not a good way to win. And that's why I'm like, where Cook is a great pivot. And I think it was you in week one down here, like right as we were starting to talk about DFS this year. Maybe it was when you convinced us to draft him in best ball. You're just like, when he is under 7K on DraftKings, we should play him. He's got to be a considered play at that point because when he's under 7K, like you just viewed him as a 7K kind of player, like a top 10, a top 11 running back. And you would have been right this week if you would have. I know why I switched to Williams, but it was the wrong switch. I like that game environment better.
Yeah, me too.
That's why.
I trust Carolina's defense. Weirdly, like I didn't think they could give up 216 to a back.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Their run defense had been improved. Last year, their run defense was terrible. This year had been improved. They were looking better. And like I say, with Jacksonville, they're one of those bipolar teams like the Falcons, where it's like 1 week they do really good, the next week they yo-yo and they give you a bad performance. And for some reason, like a bitter lover, Donnie, we bite it every time. We're like, oh, the Panthers. They're fun.
If you told me this stat line for James Cook, I would have been showed me the Bills schedule. I would have said, oh, it happened against the Dolphins.
Yep.
I would have never guessed Panthers. I probably would have hit 5 teams before I hit Panthers.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Donnie.
And I missed out. I would have been okay. 36. I never would have played Breece Hall. I'm going to be honest. I never would have gotten there. But
I have a lot of exposure to him on best ball, similar to what you have on Cook.
I have some of Breece Hall in best ball as well because we both have that team where we drafted Breece Hall
and Cook. Actually, it smashed. As your internet comes back, I'll fill in for you. But it was a Cook team with Breece Hall. I think it has.
Yeah, we drafted Cook first, and then Hall fell.
Yeah, and I believe that was the Neighbors team as well. I mean, that team is really positioned well. It has another big name on it. I can't remember.
Well, Neighbors is out if it is Neighbors. So
yeah, I can't remember if it was Neighbors or Puka, but that team is looking really good.
It might have been Neighbors and Puka. That might have been how it was.
Well, since Taylor is on the screen, I just want to mention again, like, because we got laughed at in our short about Taylor, and I think the guy missed my point on Taylor. It's not that I think Taylor is not talented. He is extremely talented. Extremely. I don't believe that the Colts are like the Lions, where they are trying to score points purposefully with intention to run up scores, going for it on fourth down, being aggressive, being fun. Like, they don't really speak that Dan Campbell energy of like, we're going to try to make a statement this way. Taylor is not involved that much in the receiving game. He doesn't have the CMC level, like, built-in receiving game. He has caught more passes this year, which is why I'm wrong. But I'm just telling you my theory and like how I work through, is this price worth it for me? I haven't viewed him with that CMC workload. I've been wrong about some of that. I will admit that. But as I've been wrong, Donnie, what's happening is his price is laddering. It's going up. It's going up.
It's not going. It's spiking.
Yeah. So
it's to the peak of what we've seen running backs at almost.
Exactly. So that's my problem now. It's like, yeah, was I wrong at 9,000? Yes. Well, should I have been playing him at 8,800? Yes. But I don't want to have the hindsight mindset that doesn't help me either. That makes me look like a loser. Like if I'm just chasing.
I won't play a 9.
Yeah. Any rarely. Like I'll fill in for Donnie again because his internet went up. But
I'm not playing 9,800 Jonathan Taylor. It's not happening ever.
But you would with a CMC, right?
Yes. Yes. And
so, That's where I was going to say your internet will snap back here in a second. But that's
I
where I was
struggle
going
to play CMC though at that price.
Yeah, you would still struggle. And maybe that's a bias thing for you, Donnie. Maybe you do have a bias. We can eat that. Like I said, I should have played more Jonathan Taylor at 8,800. I did not. But now it's a different discussion to play him at 10,000, you know. And I I will change my opinion. If he plays the Dolphins in the playoffs, I'm going to be like, hey, and that won't happen. But, if he plays a bad run defense, I'm like, hey, maybe this is the week where we have to just pay up because it's a good matchup. But at some point,
How much do you think he is right now? This week?
This week, I think he's like 100 away from 10,000, isn't he?
He's 9,800 this week.
9,800. I knew it was something close to that. And that's my problem is the guy was laughing and being like, "You're saying that Jonathan Taylor is not worth it." I'm like, no, it's a price considered discussion that we're having here. Price considered.
CMC is 1,000 less.
Well, for example, a DFS show that I watch, that I respect, said that you can play Jonathan Taylor, and here's how they did it, Donnie. They overloaded the Colts, which I think is smart. If you're gonna play that game, and you can do this lineup, you play Jonathan Taylor, you play Daniel Jones, and you play a receiver. You play an Alec Pierce because Alec Pierce is too cheap, because Daniel Jones' upside is too cheap. And then you just pay for the floor of Jonathan Taylor. But that is not how I build. I very rarely overstack a game. But yes, if that game goes off, it will involve Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, and probably a pass catching wide receiver, which, by the way, is Alec Pierce, who goes deep, who gets a deep, you need all those things to happen. And as the price goes up on Taylor, you need more and more things to happen. And guess what? I'm voting on, hey, Jonathan Taylor is maxed out. If I'm wrong, my bank account will be at zero, at some point. Like, I understand that. It's just as that price goes up.
I would not bet against his rushing props. I will not play him in the DFS though.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, Donnie. You can just say, like, I like Jonathan Taylor. I'm just not going to pay that price. I think that's where Gov is at. Whereas, like, Gov doesn't really say, like, don't play Jonathan Taylor or I'm not. He just says, like, look, I think Gov would say, if I could find a Jonathan Taylor lineup I liked, I'd play it. But it's hard this week. And that was my point. It's not that you shouldn't play him or that you should. It's hard. Because, like I say, well, what do you think of that, Donnie? Because that was actually a lineup built already this week. Where if you're going to play Jonathan Taylor, you have to play him with Daniel Jones, a pass catching wide receiver that's cheaper. So you're not playing it with Pittman. You're playing it with, like, A.D. Mitchell, or you're playing it with, Alec Pierce, one of those guys, Josh Downs. And then you're just I don't do that very often. So that just wouldn't be my style.
Not against the Steelers. No, I don't. Not really interested.
And that's kind of what I like to do is like a Jared Goff with a JMO, a guy who's underperformed, like at a lower ownership, at a lower price. That's the kind of stuff I'm not into. I understand that's a way to get an expensive guy in there and get him in differently, but I don't know. I think if I was going to play a Jonathan Taylor lineup, I'd honestly play the blowout script where I play Jonathan Taylor and I play the defense and I see what I can do.
Jonathan Taylor's price is 3,100.
Yeah,
3,100 is the increase.
It's going to be lower than this. I will say that. I just think when it comes to how people think, the psychology of how people think in DFS, I think it will be lower because when prices reach that 10,000 threshold or closer to it, I do think we're going to see lower ownership.
If it's 20% of my salary.
Yeah. Which again, I don't want to say you can do it, but to do it, you have to play a cheap tight end.
Is Jonathan Taylor going to get 20% of my points? Is he going to get 20% of my points if I play him? Probably not.
But he has been. But you have to bet on that happening again. And I don't want to bet on it. That's my whole point with this thing. And the guy was laughing, but he's using history against me, and he has the right to do that. But I'm betting on it not happening again. Not that it can't happen, or not that it hasn't happened, but as that price goes, like Donnie, we know this because we build lineups on stream. We're very transparent. You talked about it. We almost played the Tennessee wide receiver, right? He was like 3,800 this week. There's a difference between playing a 38, a 38 player and a 41 player on DK. That like $300 to $400 makes a big difference, and that's what Jonathan Taylor's increase is. It's like $500 to $600 more, and guess what? That's the difference between playing a 3K wide receiver and a 2,500 tight end.
He jumped up 700 last week, and
we might have lost Donnie from
700 last week, 300 this week is what I was saying.
Right. So, but that $700 is the difference between
huge
a starting wide receiver, a value starting wide receiver. Like Franklin, I think he was like right around what 4,100. What was he?
Mm-hmm.
They got him pulled up.
That's the difference between the Bucs defense and the Browns defense last week.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Again, if you can do it, I do think the ownership is going to be lower.
That's the difference between K-Dot and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Donnie. So he was 32%, right? His ownership will probably be in the high 20s this week. Mm-hmm. Just because some people will be like, screw it.
Pittsburgh run defense isn't great.
Right. But he's so expensive, you're not getting an ownership discount on him enough. Like if he was like 10% and it was like the talented Jonathan Taylor, it would be different. Or maybe we get a ton of good value. Maybe there's a 4K running back this week, Donnie. And then I'm like, well, now it makes sense, If we get one of those, then it opens up all kinds of possibilities. But you're right. If you're going to invest 20% of your salary, there better be some obvious holes somewhere. And I don't see those obvious holes. And I haven't seen them for weeks. And guess what? I've been wrong, but oh well. I didn't have his 30 points. I still won't have his 40 this week, Donnie, if it hits. I won't.
Yep.
Because right now, we're not even talking about 30 point upside. You need 40 for him to hit. And that is crazy.
I agree.
So, with that being said, we had good viewership in the show. I'm terrible about promotion. I probably should do a better job. Maybe recruit in different places. One thing I will say, though, if you guys could do it for us, like and subscribe. It makes a difference. Even weirdly enough, I've noticed that if I mention it on the shows, those are usually the shows that get the most likes. They get the most attention. So obviously something is working. Maybe it triggers you guys to hit it on your way out. Maybe you give me a sympathy, like whatever it is, it does seem to help. It helps us out tremendously. So I want to mention it before we get out of here. Donnie, you got any last words?
No, not really. Patriots win streak continues.
They're a fun team. Drake May is a fun quarterback, and you haven't had a fun quarterback in a long time because Brady was good. But
He wasn't fun, though.
Yeah, he was fun in a different way. And so this is kind of a new fun area. With that being said, though, we're going to get out of here. Join us again on Friday. Gov will be back on Friday. He always finds a way to make we'll make the lineup show our big end of week discussion like we always do. So we'll also get some Gov thoughts. But with that being said, we'll get out of here for now. Take care, guys. I do miss that peace out, though. I didn't even hit the end button. Here we go. Try that again.